Well, as always, the weekend is a bit more chaotic for everyone, especially if you're a wrestling fan. You probably know there's a lot of wrestling shows you got to keep up. But today we're going to be reviewing three shows from the same day by none other than Ganbare Pro. And of course, the much recent show by Stardom. They put out the sub brand New Blood Premium, where we see who will be the first ever New Blood Tag Team Champions. And of course, I think the one match we all been waiting for, Waka teaming up with Tam, facing off Nanane Takahashi and Kairi. As you know, the stipulation, if Waka loses, she'll be asked to leave Cosmic Angels and she'll quit Stardom. And of course, we got the National Wrestling Alliance with NWA USA with some interesting matches taking place. And of course, we have a special AEW Rampage. We have the open challenge for the TNT title, Brody King versus Jake Hager, and plenty others. And of course, we got a couple of news updates. We definitely got to be sharing with everybody what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as who will be participating in the upcoming WrestleCon, any changes in matches that have been booked, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with Ganbare Pro Wrestling with, of course, this is show number one that took place on the 25th of March with Hero Never Dies. It opened up, this was at the Basement Monstar, which is a small venue, but it's okay. Now, we have Manetatsu Nakamura taking on Soma Takoa. I have to say it was a pretty good match. Nothing too big, but I had a feeling that this match was definitely going to go straight to Soma Takoa since Nakamura, in fact, is a bit of a young boy, still like learning a little bit of the ropes. But it was, of course, with the Liger Bomb by Takoa to pick up a good victory against him. Next up, we got, of course, the Yoshi girls taking the stage. We have Yuri taking on Moika Haruhi. A pretty good match. I have to say it was a really interesting one because I seen how Yuri has grown up so much ever since she made the move from Just Tap Out um to Gambari. And I think it was a pretty good showing. She did show a little bit of striking technique and the submission, but however, it was of course Haruhi who picked up the win by applying a was it Ojosama clutch, forcing her to tap out. Our next match, we have a six-person tag match. We have, well, six-man actually. We have Shinichiro Tominaga, Shota, and Kazuki Ishii taking on Yumehiro Inamari, Takuya Wada, and of course Harley Jackson. This was a pretty good match because the smart thing what they did, there was one particular threat in the match is Harley Jackson, who is the biggest dude ever. Um, he was a much bigger threat when he first arrived in Ganbare Pro, but it was a smart move. But it was Inamari who picked up. No, was it Inamari? No, it was Shota who picked up a surprising move when he applied the jackknife onto Inamura. Imanari. One, two, three. It was over. I don't think anybody expected that. Now, I did mention before they're going to start the commencement of the Spirit of Gambari World Tag Team title. So this is one of round one in the first part of the tournament. We have Tyson Maeguchi and Hikaru Sato. Now these two guys teamed up. I have to say they're pretty good, and their opponents, it's none others than Shuichiro Katsumata and Kenoka. Now, Kenoka was the one who wanted Katsumata Mura to be part of his team. He was a bit more like, I don't know, but they decided to make an effort. I have to say this one was more all about striking and, of course, submission techniques on this one because they both have a bit of the those styles. If you ever seen these two, how they act, I look at Maiguchi. He looks more like he's a kickboxer. Hikari Noah, Hikaru Sato, he's like a bit of the martial arts status with both submission and striking capabilities. But it was, of course, a reversal cross arm body lock by Sato on Tanoka, forcing him to tap out. And not to mention Oka and Katsumara are out of the tournament, so they make the advancement into the next round. So as you know, I said this is show number one out of uh, three shows, so we'll end it right here for show number one. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, show number two from Ganbare Pro Wrestling. This one is the Mizuki Watase produced show. He produced the show himself, so he kind of cooked it up. So you probably get the idea. Now, our opening match, we have once again Matsu um, Matsutatsu Nakamura teaming up with Shinichiro Tominaga. They take on Moika Haruhi and Chuchiro Katsumata. Now, I thought this match was also pretty good as well. Now, you probably say, really, a Yoshi wrestler involved in this match? Well, she's one tough cookie. I've seen her how she deals with the men when it comes to having intergender matches. But this case, it was Katsumura with a interesting inverted cross arm breaker onto Nakamura that forced him to tap out. Now, we have an interesting three-way match. We have Yuri versus Soma Tokoa versus Ken Oka. This was a very unusual match because there was moments where there's a bit of confusion between who's gonna hold sometimes there'll be team ups with whoever when it comes to with three ways. That normally doesn't end very well with nobody because I think that's the advantage on who was gonna pick up the win, and sadly it was Soma Toka who picked up the win when he Yuri accident kind of actually got Ken Oka, and then he applied the jackknife onto her to give him the win. So better luck next time. Now this next match is a very interesting intergender match. We have Arukaze. She takes on the third ever Spirit of Ganbare Pro Openweight Champion, um, Hartley Jackson. I have to say Arukaze is one tough bitch. To be honest with you, she is that one person that she looks more like she's not gonna back down no matter how big or size, and I think that tells it all about her. Even um Mizuki, who in fact produced the show, even praises her, saying that you have a lot of guts, and he he really likes what he does. I mean, those two have teamed up in the past before, but even Hartley was impressed by her, knowing that despite of the size advantage, he was impressed that even if he puts her down for a little bit, she'll get back up. But unfortunately, Hartley Jackson did put her away with the jumping power driver, and it was over right from there. But I have to say, Rukaze really surprised me with her toughness. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting tag match. We have um, Tyson Maoguchi teaming up with Kisuke Ishii. Their opponents is none other than Eruption's leader Yukio Sakaguchi, and of course, Mizuki Watase. The last time these two ever faced off, if you guys remember, um, the Sakaguchi got into a big feud with Watase, and of course, Watase lost completely. But I think it showed like, okay, they're willing to try to work together. I thought it was very interesting that this happened. But however, Ishii applied the high angle double arm DDT onto Wadaze to pick up the win. However, there's a little thing that kind of, how do I say, was overshadowed, because at the post match promo, Wadaze actually was talking to the fans, giving his little promo about thank you for coming, that for putting on a good show. Something that did not happen because it should have happened at the show. Um, Kosuke Ishii pinned Wadaze, so automatically he does have an opportunity. He didn't even issue the challenge, but we know we'll get back to that in a bit. So let's move on to the next show from Ganbare Pro with show number 3. I believe this is the Players Association um, performance. I think that's the one. So let's do that right now. Okay, so this is show number 3 from Ganbare Pro Wrestling with the Players Association performance. Um, I failed to mention that all 3 shows took in the same place at the Basement Monstar, but let's get started. We have Manotatsu Nakamura taking on Daiki Shinomura. I don't know who this guy is, but a pretty interesting match. However, I'm not familiarized with this guy who Nakamura was facing, but however, he was very impressive. From my understanding, I did a little research. He originally came from Pro Wrestling Bizarra, so he picked up a win by applying the half crab onto Nakamura, giving him the win. However, Nakamura is giving him attitude, so he's trying to show him that he has guts to face guys like the guys from Bizarra. But we'll see what he does. Next up, we got a very interesting tag team match. We have Rina Amikura from Colors teaming up with Yuri to take on Yoshiko Hasegawa and Moika Aruhi. Um, Rina, as you know, I've always talked about how she's a big powerhouse, not to mention um, a good asset for the Colors, and of course with Cosmic Angels. She was able to pick up a good win when she applied a diving senton on Hasegawa to give a good win. We've been seeing mostly with Nakamura Mikora in pro wrestling, in Ganbare Pro Wrestling a few often, but it's pretty good to see her there. But seeing her team up with Yuri is really good. Next up, we have a 6-man tag team match, elimination style. Team number 1, we have Kisuke Ishii, Shuichiro Katsumura, and Ken Oka. Their opponents, it's Yuki Kanzaki, Shinichiro Tominaga, and Mizuki Wadase. Now, I can tell you how the order was with this match. We have Katsumara, who eliminated Tominaga ring out. Then, of course, Katsumara got eliminated by ring out by Ishii, and then, of course, Ishii got eliminated by Wadase. No, Katsumara got eliminated by Wadase ring out. Then Wadase ring out himself outside thanks to Ishii, and then of course um, Kanzuki eliminated Ishii by ring out, and then of course Oka eliminated Kanzaki with the spirit flame, and it was over just like that. So basically, it was a little confusing. Now, however, I did mention in the previous show that they did that Kisuke Ishii did not issue the challenge. However, this put him in a map saying that he already beat him twice in one day. So that means that he is issuing the challenge to challenge him for the Spirit of Ganbare World Openweight Champion. So it's going to take place on, what was it? I put it down here, on May 5th at Corkin Hall. So we're going to be seeing that match soon enough. Now, our next round for the Spirit of Ganbare World Tag Team Champions, we have Romance Dawn, consistent of Shota and Soma Takao, reuniting. They take on the first ever Spirit of Ganbare Pro Openweight Champions. We're talking about, we got Tatsuhito Takaiwa, who was the first, and then of course the second champion was Yumehiro Inamura. It's kind of interesting that these two team up. They were the first champions, and I thought this match was pretty good. A lot of submission, a lot of technical aspect, but it was of course the avalanched Death Valley Bomb by Takaiwa onto Shota that gave them the win. I wouldn't be surprised since I mentioned that Takaiwa and Imanari are the first ever champions, will end up being the tag champions. That's something I'm kind of curious about, but we'll see when we get there on that term. But for now, let's move on with New Blood Premium. Okay, we have New Blood Premium, the sub brand by Stardom. I have to say I wasn't expecting to see this, but however, since I already haven't seen the other two or three shows they put out yet, I decided, what the hell, let's just do this one anyway, just to get it out of the way for everyone, just for everyone to see. Our opening match, we have Julia taking on one of the newcomers named Sakura Aya. This match was issued in Corkin Hall, I believe. What was it? Last month or so, or early this month. I'm not sure, but it was a very impressive match. Seeing what this girl can do, Sakura. If you guys already heard, she does have a black belt in karate. I thought it was pretty amazing with her how she do those amazing kicks. Um, but however, Julia put the stop to it when she applied the glorious driver onto her and win the match. However, during the post match comments, Sakura actually said that she was going to do a trial basis on every unit that's available. I mean, we're talking about, of course, um, not only DDM, she's going to try every last one of them, like to see which one is a good fit. Now, this guy mentioned on Twitter, I don't remember his Twitter handle, but he just stated that she would be a perfect fit with Cosmic Angels. Now, some of you may say, why would she do that? This guy brought up a little interesting point. As you know, Tam Nakano does have a background in Kung Fu. It would make sense on that, but let's just see which decisions she makes. So don't get any right ideas about, oh, she should be with DDM. Let the rookies decide. Now, speaking of rookies, our next match we have My Him, uh, Micah and Himika take on Lady C and another newcomer named Hanako. I have to say this match was pretty good because normally when we see newbies, we want to be impressed by them. But seeing Hanako and Lady C team up, I felt they were a natural because they're both taller. I think Hanako's a bit more taller than Lady C, but she's able to get the job done. It was pretty impressive, and you probably would have thought so too. Not to mention she applied the Argentinian backbreaker on Himika. I'm like, wow. But however, Himika, who is the much powerhouse of the group, was able to put Hanako away when she applied the JP coaster, giving her a win. Now, here's another interesting thing that took place in the post-match comments. Himika has already thought about her replacement that would take her spot once she retired. So she's thinking Hanako will be the person that's playing. Now, this is almost a similar situation we saw with Konami when it came to when Julia actually tried to recruit her. So I'll be doing a discussion video about that too, about why is DDM looking for replacements that kind of fit the bill as the recent members who either retire or quit or whatever. So we'll get to that. However, Himika did talk to Hanako, asking her about the Argentinian backbreaker, and she tells her, that once she retires, she said that she's willing to give her the JP coaster, and that she's willing to have her join DDM. So basically, it's like they're trying to find recruits right away because I did mention in the past DDM hasn't been this strong ever since Sudi left. So we'll see what happens then. Now, a very interesting matchup took place. We have the sexy Dynamite Princess along with Mina Shirakawa She faces off against Super Strong Stardom Big Machine, being accompanied by Super Strong Stardom Machine. This was a very interesting match. Sexy Dynamite was being all sexy and all that. But of course, Super Strong Stardom Machine gets involved, try to help. But luckily, Mina did help out the Sexy Dynamite Princess. But one thing that was great is they use a lot of the DX moves. Like for example, the Bronco Buster was one of them. I thought that was classic. But also, my favorite one is when uh, Dynamite Princess actually did suck it and then try the pedigree. I'm like, that's something good. But according to Mina, she's saying that she is now the newest member of the newest member of Club Venus. Now, some of you, I know what you're thinking. Some of you are saying that has to be Mariah May. Hmm. I would say that is the possibility, but we'll just leave it as that. Now, our next two matches are part of the tournament for the new Blood Tag Team titles. Now, we have already four teams that made it through. Let's start with match number one for that one. We have a God's Eye Showdown. Team number one, we have Nanami and Ami Suri. They take on their fellow team members, um, Tomoka Inaba and Mirai. I have to say it was a pretty good showdown between them. I think it was one of the most impressive matches. Now, I wasn't 200% sure how this was going to end. I mean, they're both both teams were amazing, but it was of course once again Mirai who was determined to go to the top. She was able to apply the Mirror onto Nanami to proceed into the semifinals. To the finals of the tournament. Now, our next match we have Chanyota and Mai Sakurai. They take on um, Starlight Kid and Karma. Now, keep in mind, Mai Sakurai has a big feud against Karma. If you guys remember, not too long ago, um, Mai Sakurai declared war against Karma. Now, she acts like she thinks she's the hero of New Blood, but in reality, she can't be, how to say, all the things they do is not going to work in her favor no matter what she does. You probably would thought that, of course, Karma is going to pull out the fireball like she did last time. No, not this time. Um, Karma upsetted her by applying a crucifix onto her, and boom, just like that, they advanced to the finals. But Mai Sakurai mentioned she's not done with Karma yet. She still wants a little piece of her. The thing is, Karma has people say Karma is a big problem. Sakurai thinks she can get rid of her, but we'll see what happens then. Now we take a break from the tournament till we get to the finals. We have Sudi taking on Miyuki Amasaki. Now, if you guys remember, Amasaki has challenged many wrestlers since she first debuted. Of course, her first opponent was Julia, and then of course she ended up facing in a tag match with Utami, facing Tam Nakano and Kairi, and then after that Tam again in a singles competition. So basically now she faces Sudi. You probably would have thought that Sudi would have won by applying one of her submissions, which she did, but it was the choke hold that put her away. And of course, Amasaki kind of passed out, but luckily she's okay. But basically she'll be fine. But we'll see who will be her next challenger after that. Now we get to the finals of the New Blood Tag Team titles. We have Karma and Starlight Kid taking on God's Eye, Tomoka Inaba, and Mirai. I thought this was pretty good. Now we know that Mirai and Starlight Kid have bumped into each other many times due to the clappings that the fans do. Uh, it was a pretty good match, but it was kind of a close one that you probably would expect. However, it was Starlight Kid who picked up the win when she applied the Tiger suplex onto Mirai. They become the very first ever New Blood Tag Team Champions. So, of course, Karma, with her voice from hell, send a little direct message to God's Eye. I know this is a huge disappointing loss for God's Eye. I'm sure that we want to see Mirai with a championship, but we'll see what happens then. But however, Hanako and Lady C stepped up to become the first challengers. The challenge for those tag titles, but Starlight Kid did say they'll think about it. So we'll see what they're gonna say because, as you know, the following day we had the beginning of the Cinderella tournament. But let's move on to our final match, and I believe this is one that we all were expecting. We have Kairi and Nanae Takahashi taking on Waka Tsukiyama and Tam Nakano. Now, if you guys remember, 3 months ago during a match, Tam actually gave an ultimatum to Waka. If she doesn't pick up a win in that time, she's being asked to leave the Cosmic Angels. So far, we know this early this year she only had a draw, which was very impressive, but it was only a stepping stone. But the real question is, can Waka actually pick up the win? I mean, we've seen videos they posted out recently with her and her training and all this other stuff. Um, I have to say it was pretty good, but I did like how Tam is trying to give Waka the opportunity to see if she can pick up the win. But Tam would like to get payback on both women. Kairi for losing the IWGP title to her at Wrestle Kingdom, and of course Nana Takahashi for taking the belt away from her and Natsupoi. I thought it was pretty good, but however, I did like how Waka was applying on multiple occasions the Aussie suplex. It was pretty good, but however, right at the moments when things were coming to an end, Waka applied the Aussie suplex, but she added a roll up to make sure that Nanae Takahashi does not get out. And 1, 2, 3, the whole world goes ballistic. Waka finally gets her first win. I know many of you might have cried seeing that. I know I did. And as Jericho said during the Brody Lee um, memorial show, it's okay to cry. And I thought the same thing. And of course, Waka gave a little promo where she talks to Nana Takahashi. And Takahashi said that, Waka is a worthy rival. So basically, she never preceded her as a threat. But you know for well that Takahashi and Kairi will get revenge no matter what. But for now, Waka gets to celebrate. But that doesn't end there. Waka did ask Tam that if it's okay for her if she can stay with Cosmic Angels. And of course, Tam cried out, realizing that she will love nothing more than to see her stay. And I think that's the best part. And of course, at the end of the whole promo, she yells out to the fans saying that she is the true new blood. And seeing her win her first match, and not to mention being there supported by both Colors and Cosmic Angels, was the best. And I think everybody was emotional for that. And we don't know what's next for her. So we'll find out, because I think many fans are trying to see where did this go for Waka? Who will be her next challenge? Well, we'll see. But right now, let's move on to our next review, and I believe that is NWA USA. Okay, so NWA USA. It opened up with a very interesting mixed tag team match. We have Psycho Love, consistent of the two psychotic lovebirds. We're talking about Angeliva Love and her psychotic man, Fodder. They take on PJ Hawks and the debut of Kylie Page, who is the younger sister of Kenzie Page. One thing that was funny is, of course, Kylie was not paying attention because apparently she had the hots for PJ Hawks. And I like how the commentators like saying, "Isn't it PJ Hawks engaged?" And it was just too darn funny to hear that. But of course, she had her back turned until she tagged in. Angela Love actually took advantage of it, but it gave her the opportunity to apply the Botox injection to give them the first one, since they are undefeated in mixed tag team match. So that's how it rolls down from there. Now, Joe Galley conducts an interview behind closed doors with Aaron Stevens, along with Blunt Force Trauma, Damage, and of course Carnage. He's becoming having issues towards one particular person, someone that claims that Aaron Stevens manipulated him, and that is Rolando. So Aaron Stevens had some words to say about him, so they will come across each other at some point. Now, our next interview with Mae Valentine, she meets up with two former tag team champions from two different teams and two different titles that they had held in the NWA history. We're talking about Rock and Roll, Ricky Morton, and of course, Bobby Fulton. Now, Fulton has willing to admit that he had enough with the fixers, with what they've been doing, but he says that that what transpired him to have this unsanctioned match between the fixers is that his heart was telling him to do it, his mind told him no, yes, go for it, but his body told him no. But luckily, Ricky Morton, who's been in the game, knows what he's talking about. So they're willing to see if they can shut the fixtures once and for all. These guys are running around claiming they are still the NWA United States Tag Team Champions, despite the fact that the record shows it's the country gentlemen who are. Now, our next match, we have Jack Sting, which was unusual. He normally is being accompanied by Chris Silvio, but he wasn't there. Dane was in a match against Shepard Lutz. This match ended with, of course, a lariat for the Dane event. I'm sure he's not happy the fact that Chris Silvio's not there, but we'll probably see him again at some point. Now, our next match we have is the Miserably Fateful with what's his name? Gags the Gimp, Sal the Pal, and Judias. Now, however, Sal the Pal was not even there at all, so it became, I don't know if it was becoming a handicap because their opponent is none other than Thrillbilly Cyrus and the country gentleman Anthony Andrews, and of course CJ Kazana. Now, however, Thrillbilly decided to volunteer himself, saying, "Look, it's unfair. There's two of them and there's three of us." So he and Boyle decided to sit down and ask for fans to take their seats. But first things first, Thrillbilly decided to check under the ring if there's no any unnecessary shenanigans coming from Sal the Pal, because we don't know what he has. He wasn't even around. But I have to say the country gentleman really throw in a good impression. It was, of course, they pulled off a somewhat of a doomsday device onto Gags the Gimp to pick up the win. But however, I don't know what the Sinister Minister would think of Sal the Pal, who wasn't present at the time. But we'll see when that happens. So let's move on to our final review, which is, of course, AEW Rampage. Okay, our last review, AEW Rampage, open up with the open challenge laid out by Powerhouse Hobbs, our current TNT champion, to Penta El Cero Miedo. As you know, last time Hobbs defeated Ray Phoenix, but in the process, that garbage QT Marshall decided to attack Alex Brahamontes, claiming he is Mr. What. However, of course, this was going to end in Hobbs' favor because X Factors, you got Solo and QT on the side. Not to mention, Hobbs used the belt to ensure that he wins the match. However, once again, that moron QT decided to humiliate more Alex Brahamontes, but luckily Ray Phoenix showed up to save the day, and QT ran with its tail between his legs. Sooner or later, the Lucha Brothers will get their payback against those guys for what they've been doing, but that's at another time. Now, it's been announced for the upcoming Dynamite show. Kenny Omega will put the IWGP United States Heavyweight title on the line against Jeff Cobb. Now, Jeff Cobb has been waiting for months to get his hands on this title and bring it back to the United Empire. If you guys remember, it was the most humiliating moment for the United Empire when Kenny Omega defeated Will Ospreay. So now that this chance will happen, will Jeff Cobb defeat Kenny Omega and bring that title home, or will Kenny prevail by by defeating a big obstacle that's in its wake? Now, Ricky Starks, as you know, a while back he was attacked by Juice Robinson for no effing reason, so he decided to call him out, saying that he wants to have a match against him. Well, Juice was playing these dirty mind games, trying to say that he's not interested, but Ricky Starks attacked him. But however, Juice decided, you know what? I'll give you your match, but it's not going to happen here in Missouri. It's going to happen in New York, where he thinks it's more of their hunting ground. So we'll see what happens then. Now, as you know, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt, and Singh, they had been trying to obtain AEW gold since their arrival. However, they are sick and tired of the interference, as they claim, from the referees. As you know, Aubrey Edwards cost them two title matches because she was not going to let that stand. But Sanjay Dutt goes out of his way saying that he has a plan. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to attack the referee or whatever they're planning to do. Our next match, we have Brody King with Julia Hart taking on JSA's Jake Hager. I thought this match was pretty good, big of a house fight. However, Julia Hart was attacked by Anna Jay. I wouldn't be surprised if Julia Hart gets her revenge, but it did not work. The distraction did not fit until Brody King applied Dante's Inferno to Jake Hager, giving him a good win. Now, the never-ending saga between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland continues on. However, Swerve said that he's got the final chapter in his favor, that he's finally going to end the war. But the obvious question is, when will that happen? We just got to wait and see. Now, our next match, we have Layla Gray along with Jade Cargill, our TBS champion, and that weasel, Smart Mark Sterling. As you know, Smart Mark Sterling is forbidding Taya Valkyrie from applying the road to Valhalla. Now, keep in mind, Taya Valkyrie has been using that move a lot longer than Jade Cargill, but Jade Cargill claimed, but Sterling says that move strictly belongs to Jade Cargill. However, Taya Valkyrie, as I said, she's not going to give a damn about some cease and desist order. So she applied the road to Valhalla, but Sterling, who thinks he has more bigger balls to deal with someone like Taya Valkyrie, well, let's just say that he doesn't have any balls, and apparently he ended up being on the road to Valhalla. So the obvious thing is Taya Valkyrie a big threat to Jade Cargill's reign as the TBS champion? Well, we just gotta wait and see until that day happens. Now, before our main event, we had the members of the JSA, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker, making their way to the commentary booth. It appears that they have their sights set on the Acclaim, but the Acclaim right now has to get through the Kingdom. Now, we know how the Kingdom is. They always try to prove that they are the better tag team in every aspect, and they've been trying to weasel their way in to get AEW Tag Team Gold, which they were unsuccessful. But Maria Kanellis tried to help the Kingdom to cut corners, but luckily Daddy Ass took care of it, and of course Top Flight decided to chase Maria away from the Kingdom until the mic drop by Max Caster onto Matt Taven, giving them the win. But the obvious thing is, how long will this go between Parker and Menard to try to recruit the Acclaim to join them, because they claim they are, how to say, sports entertainment people. Well, we'll just wait and see what happens. So right now, I think this is the last of our reviews. So let's do some news updates. Okay, so let's talk about some news updates here. For WrestleCon, 4 more names have been announced. We're gonna have Samurai del Sol, as you know him, Kalisto, will be making an appearance there. We even have Ali Catch, Dean Malenko, and a tag team I never heard of called the Goodwins. So they will be at the WrestleCon. For the GCW, Jimmy Lloyd, the Generation F on the 31st. We have, of course, Jimmy Lloyd takes on Bodie Young Prodigy. I don't know who he is, but it seems like it's going to be a good match. Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling has announced that Sawyer Wreck will be making her way to Japan starting late in April all the way to early May. So her schedule has been announced. Her first match will be on the 29th of April at Shinkiba, and then a few days later on the 1st of no, wait a minute. The 29th is going to be in Shinagana, and of course the 5th, the 1st of May will be in Shinkiba. But that match has already been announced. On the 5th, on the 1st of May, Sawyer Wreck will be in a death match against Hikari Noa. Now I know some of you are saying, wait a minute, I thought they don't allow this type of match. Well, they did allow Hikari Noa. What was it, last year or the year before, being in a hardcore match against Rina Yamashita. However, Hikari Noa, who's been a big fan of death matches, this is going to be interesting. So, can't wait to see that. However, she will have a Princess of Princess title match on the 5th of May in Corkin Hall. However, there's a match that is going to be taking place between our newly crowned champion Mizuki to take on Nao Kakuta. So, whoever walks out will be challenging Sawyer Wreck for that title on May 5th. So, we'll just gotta wait and see. Now, for a final update, Wrestling Revolver has announced for their upcoming show Thursday that takes place on the 6th of April. As you know, Josh Alexander he's gonna be out of action for quite some time due to a torn bicep. He was supposed to be involved in Wrestling Revolver for Thursday. Luckily, they found a replacement and they chosen Chris Sabian. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully, whatever they have in store for him is going to be good. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. As we speak, as you know, we already begun with Stardom's Cinderella tournament. I know everybody has a favorite to win. Now, keep in mind, I did not, how to say, at first I did not see this until it was heard. As you know, there was two exes involved in two opening entries in the Cinderella tournament. They already announced one of them, and to my surprise, by the time this video is done, it should be already out. Waka Tsukiyama was announced as the entry to face Lady C in the Cinderella tournament. Now, I will not see the entire Cinderella tournament until it's clear to me right now because I'm working on this video for all of you. I'm looking forward to it. If that comes out sooner than we think, then I'll review it. And I don't know about the other videos they haven't posted yet, but for now, I'll just stick what we have. We still got some other events we got to do, and there is another Choco Pro show coming up. I will do that as well. So, but for now, I'll end it right here. But I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.